shifting focus to another big story coming in from Pakistan. The country is witnessing another wave of protests.
Thousands of people, several kilometers long. These are people who are heading to the venue at Sawabi.
Pakistan, after the arrest of former Prime Minister Imran Khan. Khan was arrested by security forces at the High Court in the capital Islamabad.
For decades, Pakistan has been known for its resilient people, vibrant culture, and strategic geopolitical importance. However, in recent years, the country has been increasingly struggling to provide a stable and prosperous life for its citizens. In 2024, as economic instability, political turmoil, and social challenges continue to deepen, more and more Pakistanis are seeking a future elsewhere. According to recent estimates, around 800,000 Pakistanis left the country in 2024 alone, a striking rise from previous years, as opportunities dwindled and uncertainty grew. The growing economic crisis, widespread unemployment, and degrading quality of public services are making it harder for ordinary families to survive. Increased inflation has pushed the cost of essentials beyond reach for many, while rising crime and security concerns have left communities feeling increasingly vulnerable. What was once a homeland filled with hope for many Pakistanis is now a place they feel compelled to leave behind. Here's a closer look at why so many people are leaving and how these problems are affecting the country. Pakistan faces an uphill economic battle, with deep-rooted structural issues compounded by recent crises.
Concerns mounting in Pakistan. The $7 billion economic bailout from the International Monetary Fund is faltering. The deal was reached in July, but Pakistan's accusing the IMF of stalling. Pakistani and IMF officials are meeting on Wednesday to discuss the deal further.
Inflation, now at over 27%, has driven up prices across the board, making basic necessities increasingly unaffordable for a population where nearly 39% live below the poverty line. The rupee has declined by nearly 50% against the US dollar over the past year, intensifying the cost of imports, especially fuel and food items, and putting additional pressure on household budgets. The country's external debt has ballooned to around $125 billion, making debt servicing one of the largest expenses in the national budget. This debt has forced Pakistan to turn to the International Monetary Fund, or IMF, for a series of bailout packages, with the most recent being a $3 billion agreement that came with stringent conditions. These IMF-imposed reforms include cutting subsidies on essential goods and increasing taxes, measures that have disproportionately affected low- and middle-income families. For instance, electricity bills have increased massively and now exceed the cost of renting a house. Decreased foreign investment is another concern. Many foreign investors are wary of entering a market characterized by high inflation, regulatory uncertainty, and security issues. According to recent reports, foreign direct investment, or FDI, in Pakistan fell by nearly 50% in the past year, as investors seek more stable environments for their capital. Local industries are also feeling the strain, as the cost of doing business rises due to expensive energy and imported raw materials. Small and medium-sized enterprises, which employ over 70% of the non-agricultural workforce, struggle to survive, resulting in widespread job losses. The cost of living has become a serious issue for many people. Prices of basic necessities like food, fuel, and household goods have surged, making it difficult for families to meet their everyday needs. For example, the price of petrol has doubled in the past 2 years alone. Inflation has hit hard, with essentials such as wheat, sugar, and cooking oil becoming almost unaffordable for the average household. Pakistan faces an urgent challenge with the growing brain drain of educated professionals, especially in technology, medicine, and engineering.
The economic crisis in Pakistan is prompting mass exodus from the country. More than 450,000 Pakistanis have left the country in search of better opportunities in this year alone. And these include many educated, high-skilled workers as well.
Over the past decade, thousands of skilled workers have left Pakistan, and in 2023, around 765,000 Pakistanis left the country. The primary reasons are not only the allure of higher wages, but also better living standards, professional growth, and stability that many find lacking in their homeland. This migration trend creates a significant talent vacuum, especially in critical sectors like healthcare and technology, where Pakistan already struggles to meet demand. For instance, Pakistan has 1 doctor for every 963 people, far below the World Health Organization's recommended ratio. As doctors and engineers leave, Pakistan's healthcare and infrastructure sectors suffer, slowing economic progress and innovation. Moreover, the cycle of migration further reduces local job opportunities and weakens the economy, compelling even more professionals to leave in search of better futures. Pakistan's high population growth rate is a major issue, impacting nearly every aspect of the country's development. With over 240 million people and an annual growth rate of 2%, Pakistan is the 5th most populous country in the world. Each year, millions of people enter the job market, and the government struggles to create enough employment opportunities. The youth population, which makes up over 60% of the total, often feels the effects of limited job prospects, insufficient health care, and inadequate educational facilities. The pressure of a large population also burdens Pakistan's infrastructure. Urban areas face overcrowded schools, hospitals, and housing shortages, which hinder the quality of life. Rapid population growth has also led to environmental issues, such as deforestation and water scarcity. A recent report by UNICEF shows that about 70% of households in Pakistan lack clean drinking water, intensifying health challenges. Despite government efforts to control the population, progress has been slow. Food insecurity is another growing problem, with over 20% of the population considered undernourished. These challenges lead many young Pakistanis to seek better opportunities abroad, looking for a stable future that their homeland currently struggles to provide.
Imran Khan's claim that the rate of unemployment in the country stands at 6.5% data shows otherwise. According to the Pakistan Institute of Development Economics or PIDE, the unemployment rate is much higher than 16%. Highlighting the rising rate of unemployment in the country, PIDE said that at least 24% of educated people are jobless at the moment in the country.
Unemployment in Pakistan has become a major concern, particularly for young people. According to the Pakistan Bureau of Statistics, the unemployment rate reached around 6.9% in 2023, but among youth, it is estimated to be much higher, possibly over 10%. This job crisis leaves a huge number of recent graduates without meaningful work, with many taking jobs far below their skill level just to make ends meet. The rising cost of living adds to the challenges young people face. The average income for many does not cover basic expenses, creating a cycle of financial stress and underemployment. Political instability is a long-standing issue in Pakistan, marked by frequent changes in government and power struggles among political parties. In recent years, Pakistan has experienced multiple shifts in leadership, including the removal of prime ministers through no-confidence votes or court rulings. This constant change disrupts long-term planning, making it hard to develop policies that address pressing challenges like economic growth, healthcare, and education. Corruption and inefficiency further complicate the situation, eroding trust in government institutions. According to Transparency International's 2023 report, Pakistan ranked 140 out of 180 countries, highlighting widespread corruption in public offices. Many citizens feel that political leaders prioritize personal gain over public welfare, making it difficult for them to trust the government. This deep-seated frustration has prompted many Pakistanis to seek stability and better prospects abroad, as they lose hope in seeing positive change at home. The judiciary in Pakistan, although intended to be independent, faces significant challenges related to corruption, political influence, and inefficiency. A recent report ranked Pakistan third in the world for the lack of justice and peace, highlighting the urgent need for reform. The courts are burdened with an estimated backlog of over 2 million unresolved cases, leaving ordinary citizens feeling that justice is out of reach. High legal costs and the influence of political connections exacerbate this perception, as many believe that wealthy individuals receive preferential treatment. If you have money and power in Pakistan, you can kill anyone and get away with it. That's exactly what happened in the case of Natasha Danish, a wealthy woman who took the lives of a father and his young daughter on Karachi's Karsaz Road. Driving her SUV, she lost control and mowed them down, leaving behind grieving family members and a community in shock. People were outraged, expecting at least some justice. In a decision that left many stunned, Natasha was acquitted, walking away free without any real consequences. The courtroom's decision felt like a punch to the public, exposing how deeply biased the system can be toward those with money and influence. It's as if, in Pakistan, justice has a price tag, and for the wealthy, it often means buying their way out of accountability. In Pakistan, the military has long held significant influence over politics, often overshadowing civilian governments. Despite the constitution's emphasis on civilian rule, the military's involvement has persisted, impacting governance and policy-making. Studies show that approximately 60 to 70% of Pakistanis feel that military influence limits elected leaders' effectiveness, which hinders independent policy decisions. This power imbalance leads to a lack of accountability and transparency, as military priorities frequently overshadow public interests. For Pakistanis advocating for transparent civilian-led governance, this dynamic remains a concern. In recent years, political instability linked to military-civilian tensions has been a key factor driving migration, as many seek countries where democratic principles and civilian authority are upheld, providing stability and clearer avenues for public representation. Security remains a serious concern for Pakistanis, especially in regions affected by terrorism, political violence, and sectarian tensions. Pakistan's Global Peace Index ranking is low, placing it among countries facing high levels of insecurity. According to recent data, over 80,000 civilians and security personnel have lost their lives in terrorism-related incidents in the past decade, affecting thousands of families and leaving lasting trauma. Areas near the Afghan border are particularly affected, with frequent violence disrupting daily life. The recent resurgence of Taliban activity in Afghanistan has also raised concerns about cross-border instability and increased militant activity within Pakistan. For many Pakistanis, these threats drive their decision to seek safer environments abroad. Families, in particular, fear for their children's future and want to provide them with a secure and peaceful upbringing, which motivates them to consider migration as a viable option. Pakistan's healthcare system faces serious challenges due to underfunding, limited infrastructure, and a shortage of trained healthcare professionals. The government allocates only around 1.2% of its GDP to healthcare, much lower than neighboring countries like India, which spends around 2.1%. Imagine, the defense budget of Pakistan is $17 billion, while the healthcare budget is just $94 million. As a result, Pakistan's healthcare system struggles to serve its growing population of over 240 million, especially in rural areas where only 30% of the population has access to basic healthcare facilities. Public hospitals are often overwhelmed, with patients facing long waiting times and insufficient medical supplies. Private healthcare services, though more efficient, remain unaffordable for most Pakistanis, as over 60% live below the poverty line. Pakistan has made some progress in expanding access to education, but the quality still needs significant improvement, particularly in rural areas. Many schools lack essential resources, including trained teachers, updated textbooks, and even basic facilities like clean drinking water. The literacy rate is around 58%, much lower than neighboring countries, with rural literacy rates even lower. This disparity in education quality is widening the gap between urban and rural populations. Higher education also struggles with challenges like insufficient funding, limited research facilities, and outdated curricula. only about 1% of Pakistan's GDP is allocated to education, far below the global average of 4 to 6%, making it difficult for universities to improve. Many young people feel unprepared for the demands of today's job market, which encourages migration. The perception that local education lacks a global competitive edge is prompting more students to seek opportunities abroad, particularly in fields like technology and medicine. Pakistan faces one of the highest levels of vulnerability to climate change globally, with over 150 natural disasters in the past 2 decades. In 2022 alone, unprecedented floods affected more than 33 million people, claiming over 1,700 lives and causing around 30 billion in damages. The agricultural sector, which employs nearly 40% of the population, is under constant threat, with rising temperatures and unpredictable rainfall leading to severe crop failures, water shortages, and forced migration. Urban areas aren't spared either. Cities like Karachi and Lahore experience intense heat waves, worsening air pollution, and poor water quality, leading to respiratory illnesses and lower life expectancy. Despite government initiatives such as the Billion Tree Tsunami and the Clean Green Pakistan movement, efforts remain insufficient against the accelerating climate crisis. As the environment worsens, many Pakistanis face the difficult choice of staying or migrating to safer regions to protect their health and livelihoods. In Pakistan, freedom of speech remains heavily restricted, impacting journalists, activists, and the public who often face censorship, harassment, or arrest for speaking against the government. According to reports, Pakistan ranks 157th out of 180 countries in the World Press Freedom Index, indicating severe limitations on media freedom. Media outlets are pressured to align with government narratives, especially on sensitive topics like corruption, human rights issues, and military influence, leading to the suppression of critical voices. Social media is closely monitored, and content deemed a threat to national security is frequently blocked. These restrictions hinder public debate, prevent accountability, and push the youth and intellectuals to seek societies where open dialogue and democratic values are respected. Recent reports indicate that platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter have faced multiple suspensions or content takedowns, affecting millions of users. Activists, journalists, and even regular users are often targeted for sharing views that challenge government actions or traditional values. These restrictions limit freedom of expression and prevent open discussions on important issues. For Pakistan's youth, social media is a key space for self-expression, and these limits create a restrictive atmosphere. Many young people express frustration and even consider moving abroad to enjoy more freedom online. This highlights a growing demand for open discourse and less restrictive digital spaces in Pakistan. Pakistan's political system, though democratic in name, often faces serious challenges to democratic ideals. Election irregularities, including allegations of rigging and voter suppression, are widespread, leading many citizens to question the legitimacy of the process. According to recent surveys, around 60% of Pakistanis believe their political system is flawed and does not truly serve the public. Political parties frequently engage in fierce power struggles, focusing more on their own agendas than on national welfare. This disconnect deepens public distrust. Recent polls show that only 39% of Pakistanis have confidence in their elected leaders. As a result, citizens feel disillusioned and powerless, leading to an increase in public protests across the country. Frustrated by the lack of genuine representation and accountability, many Pakistanis have taken to the streets to demand reforms, fair elections, and a government that prioritizes the needs of its people. These protests often reflect a broader dissatisfaction with political corruption, economic mismanagement, and social injustices. However, the government's response to these protests is often heavy-handed, leading to further anger and unrest. This cycle of discontent and suppression continues to erode public trust in political institutions, making it clear that genuine democracy is lacking in Pakistan.